Well, thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us. Let me start by asking you, what's your general sense of the state of the North Korean economy? It's been about a half a year or so since Kim Jong-il died. The succession to Kim Jong-un seems to have proceeded relatively smoothly. What's your take on the economy?
Nothing has improved. And North Korean economy is still in a poverty trap. And poverty trap means if an economy cannot save much to compensate the depreciation of the capital stock, then the capital stock will decrease. And this decreasing capital stock will cause the negative economic growth. And North Korea is in a poverty trap, and North Korea is losing continuously a part of the capital stock. And that is the main reason of North Korea's economic negative growth.
How is this manifested? What do you see on the ground in terms of people's livelihoods, people's day-to-day lives?
As an academician, I see this from the estimated economic growth rate. And if I visit North Korea and if I get the data from North Korea, and then it shows the negative economic growth. And if you visit North Korea, then North Korean people, even though there is a bigger gap between the rich and the poor, but the average level of North Korean people's living standard has not improved yet.
Recently, there have been some very interesting statements attributed to Kim Jong-un. In one of them, he was quoted as saying that the time had come where the North Korean people should not be asked to constantly further tighten their belts. And he's also been quoted as saying it was time for officials to change their outmoded way of thinking and doing things. What do you make of this? Does this suggest that there's some kind of serious discussion or consideration of reform or change in the way things are done in North Korea?
There are many people who are waiting for the real policy changes in North Korea because, as you said, because North Korean government or the leader has promised us something better in the future, but we don't see any concrete changes yet. According to his words, probably North Korean government is preparing for kind of reform measures or more active opening policies. And without these reform and opening policies, North Korean economy does not have any chance to improve or to rehabilitate the economic situation. Because of that, still I'm waiting North Korea's more active economic reforms and opening policies, but we cannot see any change yet.
Does North Korea actually have the capacity to reform? Is there a problem here in that if they try to reform, it could undermine the basis of their political system if they actually did it in any meaningful way?
I think yes, and economic change or economic reform is not always or should not always go together with democratic system. We have observed this kind of experience already in our own history in South Korea's economic development period. We have had a kind of authoritative government, and we have experienced less democratic system than now. But at that time, better living standard was more important for the people. Because of that, even though we have had less freedom, less democracy, the people could endure that because we could improve our living standard and we could get our food and other necessary materials for living. Because of that, if North Korea would introduce economic reform measures, and if North Korea would introduce more active opening policies, I think in the beginning that would not demise the North Korean system. Probably it can strengthen. It can strengthen the basis of the power of new Kim Jong Un's regime in North Korea, I think.
North Korea is different than China in the sense that in China, the government allows people to get on with their lives as long as you don't oppose the Chinese Communist Party. You have a lot of freedom to do lots of other things. But in North Korea, it's a different kind of system. Not only can you not oppose the government, you actually are pressured to sort of buy into the personality cult, the worship. It's a much more all-encompassing system. So does that really mean that if they try to change, the political basis of that system could be under threat?
I don't think so. I myself have visited North Korea several times, and North Koreans are very similar to the South Korean people, and I understand their emotion. I understand their customs and so on, and because of that, I would say if they would get more necessary materials for living, then probably they can pay more respect to the leaders. Even though Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il have promised to provide 쌀밥 and 고기국, that means rice and meat soup, but they didn't keep the words. They couldn't keep the words. But if Kim Jong-un would be able to provide these things, these necessary materials for living, then Kim Jong-un get more support from the people, I think.
What's been the role and the impact of markets in North Korea?
North Korea has introduced the market officially in 2002 via July reform, and market is working for distribution of the resources and not the allocation. That means market is working in just consumption sector, not in production sector. And North Korea has allowed this market mechanism just in consumption sector, even though it is limited, but market is working. North Korean people get necessary materials from the market, and they bring their goods on the market, and they are living on market. And this market is providing more chance to make money and more chance to get necessary materials. Because of that, that is positive. But market is expanding the gap between the poor and the rich. That is a negative picture, but it is unavoidable if you have market in your society.
Where are the rich people in North Korea getting their money from?
In North Korea, the rich people is mainly from the people who are able to contact international currency, or the people who can have access to international currency, and for example, the people who are working in the export sector, or the people who have relatives in foreign country, or the people who have a family member who is working in abroad, and they can get the foreign currency and the foreign using this foreign currency, they have a chance to invest or to produce something in North Korea, and they are growing middle class in North Korea.
Could these people with their money present some kind of political threat to the regime, or do you think they're just happy enough to be doing better and therefore they'll let the system and the regime carry on because it's providing benefits for them?
I think they are happy to have a chance to that kind of exclusive right to or exclusive right to access foreign currency and foreign goods.
Over the past year or so, China and North Korea have made some moves towards opening up a couple of new special economic zones, one in Nason and one in Hwanggeum-pyeong. What's your analysis of these zones and the potential impact they could have on North Korea?
I think Nason will become a successful project, but Hwanggeum-pyeong is not so hopeful, I think, because for Nason area, China has big interest. China has an access to East Sea, and China has already borrowed 3 ports in Nason, and China has now constructing the road to Nason, and they are repairing the road from Hunchun to Nason and so on. And it shows the big interest of China. And China can use this road and this port to export the goods from northeastern region of China, and they can bring these goods to Nason, and then they can send these goods to Shanghai and southern part of China, and then they can save the transportation costs and so on. And it has important military meaning as well. But Hwanggeum-pyeong is different, and Hwanggeum-pyeong is just a land in the middle of Yalu, and the only economic interest from China for Hwanggeum-pyeong is using land and using the cheap labor. But there is no electricity, and there is no resources for production and so on. And because of that, it is much inferior to Kaesong Industrial Complex. And because of that, I don't think Hwanggeum-pyeong will become a successful project. But Nason is very promising.
In the past few years, as relations between the North and the South have soured, China and North Korea have gotten closer and closer, and the Chinese role in the North Korean economy has become more and more important. What are the implications of this, particularly for South Korea, and with North Korea becoming increasingly integrated with the Chinese economy? Does this actually raise some questions about the long-standing scenarios for unification under which the South essentially absorbs the North, if China to some degree is already absorbing the North in economic terms?
Complicated question, but I think the China's role in for North Korea nowadays is positive, because it can become a kind of ventil for North Korea. If North Korea will not have any exit, then it can become, more explosive. It can have more explosive potential. And China has reformed the economic system, and North Korea can learn this new economic system from Chinese companies and Chinese people. And but as you said, China is now extracting natural resources from North Korea, and they pay very cheap because China is the monopoly power of demand, and just China can buy something, and because of that, North Korea should make dumping, and because of that, China is now extracting many natural resources from North Korea very cheap, and they can use North Korean labor very cheap, and these are negative pictures. But China has adopted already the market mechanism in the economy, and the companies and the people are working on the market mechanism, and they can have probably an impact on North Korean economy and North Korean people who are working with these Chinese companies. And with regard to the possible unification, it depends. If North Korea would learn new mechanism, new system from China, that will be helpful for the possible reunification between two Koreas. But if China would not allow or would not give the chance for the reunification between two Koreas to hold their right to use natural resources from North Korea and so on, that maybe that will be negative. But we should see, and because of that, the international cooperation is a very important factor.
North Korea is still facing a whole series of sanctions, international sanctions from the U.S. and so on. In economic terms, how significant are those sanctions, and in political terms, are they making much of a difference?
Economically, North Korea needs new capital, but North Korea cannot get new investment due to this sanction mechanism, and North Korea has lost the markets, and that means North Korea needs new production capacity, and North Korea needs the market. But through these sanction measures, North Korea has lost the possible source of investment, and North Korea has lost the markets. Because of that, North Korea does not have any, hope or any possibility to rehabilitate its economy through these sanction measures, and this can destabilize the political regime as well. And as I said, if the leader would not be able to improve the economic situation, and especially Kim Jong-un cannot stabilize his power system, because the Kim Il-sung was the leader of independence movement, and Kim Jong-il has worked with him, and because of that, the two forefathers have had a kind of authority. But Kim Jong-un did not contribute to North Korean history. And because of that, he must be able to show his ability to contribute to the history of North Korea and to the people of North Korea. And in that sense, economic rehabilitation is very important, and the sanction measures are an important hurdle for his political regime.
Russia recently announced that it was forgiving the loans that it had provided to North Korea, that the North doesn't need to repay most of what it owes Russia. What do you make of that? How important is it? What's the impact going to be?
It is really good, and it is we welcome that kind of decision, but it is normal in the international society. Probably you know the Paris Club, and Paris Club is the club of the developed countries who have provided ODA or who have provided loans to the emerging economies or poor countries. And if these poor countries are not able to pay back, then the countries in the Paris Club discuss the rescheduling and mainly the countries allow the debt redemption and so on. And North Korea does not have access to international financial market because North Korea have not paid the debt. But if the other countries would follow Russian example, then for North Korea, these countries would open new way to get the financial support from the world, and because of that, I think it is very important for North Korea, and probably the other countries can bring the North Korea's old debt issue to the Paris Club or other international society. Then if other countries would follow the Russian example, then for North Korea, they can provide new hope.
What's your prognosis for the future of North-South economic relations? They've been in a deep freeze the past few years, but you're going to have a new government in South Korea next year after the election. What's your sense of where things are likely to go?
Good question. I think the inter-Korean relation will be improved in the next government because we think even though the negotiation or the dialogue is very what happened in the low level, it is important to prevent possible physical conflict. But I think this government, the Lee Myung-bak government, has given important chance to North Koreans to rethink on inter-Korean relations. And this Lee Myung-bak government position was that North Korea has cooperated economically with one hand, but with other hand, North Korea has produced nuclear weapons and missiles, and these kind of two different attitudes cannot be endured by South Koreans any longer. I think all the South Koreans have the same opinion. Because of that, even though the next government would reopen the dialogue with North Koreans, we cannot endure this kind of a dual attitude. But if North Korea would change their position toward more peaceful dialogue, then we are ready to produce more active relation and we are ready to provide much more economic resources to North Koreans. But we cannot endure the threatening attitude.
Professor Yoon, thanks very much for speaking with us.